You're listening to WCAT Radio, your home for authentic Catholic programming.
Welcome. My name is Frank Ambrosio. I'm the co-director of the My Dante project at Georgetown University. It's my great pleasure today to welcome you to a reading of Inferno, the first canticle of Dante's Divine Comedy. It's voiced by Danny Fitzpatrick, and he's reading his own translation of the poem, which he recently completed in commemoration of the 700th anniversary of Dante's death in 1321. Poetry is meant to be spoken and heard. As Danny speaks, listen for the simplicity and economy of the English words and rhythms which Danny has discovered at work in Dante's native Italian. In their music and textures, we hear the primal power with which they break forth from silence, revealing the whole world, together with all of us, the living and the dead. So let's join Danny Fitzpatrick now on Dante's journey.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Dante in a Year podcast. My name is Danny Fitzpatrick. Let's continue with Dante's Inferno, Canto 18. In the Inferno is a place called Malebolge, all of rock the color of iron, as the circle that enfolds it. Right in the midst of the malignant camp raves a pit so large and deep, whose order I'll describe in its place. That belt that remains is about the rest, between the pit and the foot of the hard cliff, and is divided in 10 valleys at the bottom. As where to guard the walls, more and more moats encircle castles, where each part is rendered with its figure, in such images were these made. And as from the threshold of such fortresses are little bridges to the outer bank, so from the rock run ridges cutting down across the margins and ditches into the pit that cuts and conjoins them. In this place, tossed from Gerion's shoulders, we came to ourselves, and the poet held to the left, and I moved on his right. On the right hand I saw a new pity, new torment and new torturers, of which the first bulge was replete. In the deep the sinners were naked. Those on our side of the middle moved against us, the rest with us, but with greater steps, as the Romans for the great host, the year of the Jubilee, had to contrive a way for the people to pass upon the bridge, so that from one side all held their brows toward the castle and came to St. Peter, while on the other hand they came to the mount. Now here, now there, up on the gloomy stone, I saw horned demons with great flails, who battered them cruelly from behind. Ah, how they made them lift their heels at the first shock! Of course no one awaited the second or the third. While I went, my eyes encountered one, and as soon as I saw him I spoke. Surely I have not fasted from the sight of him. At which I fixed my feet to try to recognize him, and the sweet leader stayed behind with me, and assented that I step back. And that whipped one thought to conceal himself, lowering his visage, but it availed him little, as I said, O you who cast the eye to earth, if the fashion that you bear is not false, you are venerico caccionemico, but what leads you to such pungent sauces? And he to me, I speak in ill will, but I'm forced by your clear speech, which makes me remember the ancient world. I was he who conducted Guiso la Bella to do the will of the Marquis, however that obscene tale sounds. And I am not the only Bolognese complaining here. Rather is this place so plentiful that so many tongues have not now taken to saying Sipa between Savena and Reno. And if you wish faith or testimony, bring back to mind our greedy womb. So speaking, he was struck by a demon with his scourge, and he said, Go on, pimp, here there are no women to coin. I rejoined myself with my escort. A few paces further we came there where a rock protrudes from the bank. Lightly we ascended that, and faced right upon its edge, where we departed their eternal circling. When we were there where delirium below gives passage to the tortured, the leader said, "Wait, that they might make out your visage, those others ill-born, whose faces you've still not seen, and that they've gone together with us." From the old bridge we watched the troop that came upon us from the other band, similarly lashed with whips. And the good master, without my asking, said to me, "Look at that great one who comes, and for his pain appears not to spill tears. How much of his royal aspect he yet retains! That is Jason, who for heart and for sense deprived those of Colchis of their mutton. He passed on for the island of Lemnos, then as the hard, pitiless women condemned all their men to death. There with signs and with ornate words he deceived Hypsipyle, the young one who first had deceived all the others. He left her there, heavy, solemn. Such fault condemns him to such martyrdom, and so too comes vengeance to Medea. With him go those who give deceit such play, and let this be enough to know of the first veil, and of those it assumes to itself. Now we've come there where the straightened way cuts across the second ridge, and makes of it another shoulder for an arch. Here we heard the people who quiver in the other bulge and snuffle about with their muzzles, and hit themselves with their palms. The banks were overgrown with mold by the exhalation that pressed from below, and fought with the eyes and the nose. The depth is so black that the place supplied no view without mounting the rise of the arch where the rock most rises. We went, and there I saw down in the depth people stuffed in stool that seemed shoved from human toilets. And while I searched the depth with the eye, I saw one with head so mired in shit that none could tell if he were lay or cleric. He shrieked to me, "Why are you so greedy to regard me more than these other brutes?" And I to him, "Because, if I well recall, I saw you already with dry hair, and you are Alessia Intermine of Lucca, so I turned my eye to you more than to any other." And so he, beating his head, "The flatteries submerged me here, those of which my tongue was never bored." Pressing near, the leader said, "See that you put your face a bit more forward, so that the eye might well draw out the face of that disheveled, filthy whore who engraves herself with shit-dark nails, and now crouches and now stands on her feet. She is Thais, the slut who responded to her lover who asked, 'Have I gained your favor?' by saying most marvelously, 'And so let our sight be sated.'" Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Dante in a Year podcast. See you Friday for Dante's Inferno, Canto 19.
Hello, God's beloved. I'm Annabelle Mosley, author, professor of theology, and host of Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. I invite you to listen in and find inspiration along this sacred journey we're traveling together to make our lives a masterpiece and, with God's grace, become saints. Join me, Annabelle Mosley, for Then Sings My Soul and Destination Sainthood on WCAT Radio. God bless you. Remember, you're never alone. God is always with
you. Thank you for listening to a production of WCAT Radio. Please join us in our mission of evangelization. And don't forget, love lifts up when knowledge takes flight.